The topic of my WeAreTeachers grant was to create interactive games that could be used in an online classroom, and more specifically to an online math classroom. The first thing I did with my grant money was purchase Adobe e-learning suite. It contains a lot of cool programs that are useful when you're creating any kind of online module for your students to use, such as Captivate and Presenter. From there, I also purchased a membership to Animation Factory. Animation Factory carries many PowerPoint backgrounds, animations like you see here, movie clips, and sound clips. It's the perfect one-stop shop if you're trying to come up with an idea to create your own game. After browsing many of the offerings that Animation Factory offered, we settled on a treasure hunt type scenario for our game. In this treasure hunt scenario, students are the captain of a ship and they're being pursued by a pirate. From here, we used Presenter 7, the Adobe plugin to PowerPoint, to create our let me scroll through until I find one, to create our equations. What you do when you start Adobe Presenter is, let me get a quiz for you, is it opens up a window where you can enter in questions and you have a title. It creates the title slide for you. It doesn't do anything to the backgrounds. You already have to have your backgrounds kind of decided, but it does all of the creating the questions for you. For instance, we did 6 times 8 here. You put your question text here. You can rename your question if you wanted it to something helpful for you to remember. This here is what displays in the navigation window once the PowerPoint is produced into the actual e-learning quiz. So you put your text in here. You can assign it a score. You enter in the text for all your correct and incorrect answers. You select your correct answer. You can have the quiz shuffle answers each time it's played. You could have a single response or multiple response questions. You can change your numbering or lettering from A, B, C to 1, 2, 3, and so on. There are advanced features you can set as well. You could set it so that and record audio so that you gave the students some type of hint, or so that each I believe you can set it up so that each answer has its own audio as well. Once you're done with putting in your question, then you click on options. You can do things like set whether it's graded or whether it's just a survey. An action, you can tell it to go from one slide to another slide. If they get the correct answer, again, you can record audio here. If they get a wrong answer, you can record audio. You can also enter in text to display to the student if they get a wrong answer. You can set up the number of attempts. If the student gets the wrong answer the first time, you could give them an additional attempt, or you could give them an infinite number of attempts. Then there's an error message, and I'll show you how to type that up in a minute. You can show them. There's also a correct message you can show them. Then there's a message you can also show them on how, what hints on retrying. And there's a message, in case the student tries to skip the question, you can tell them, well, you haven't completed this question, please complete before continuing. And then you have your multiplication. You can title the quiz, and I'm not sure about the interaction ID. I didn't do anything with this, but I guess it's how it reports the answers. This program is SCORM compliant, so if you're working with something like, we use Brain Honey at our school, it is SCORM compliant, so we can have it report back to the learning management system. So then you enter in all your questions. This particular game has 10 questions, And once you're done, oh, I needed to continue. We had output options. We can, at the end, show the students, like here I just have it display a current score. You can, have it display different things to the student. Reporting, here's where you could choose. You want it to be SCORM compliant and the different things you want it to output. Default labels, these are where you put, if it's correct, here's what you want it to display. If it's incorrect, here's what you want to. If you want them to try again, you put, it's generic statements that work for all the questions. You can change what the buttons look like at the bottom where you tell the student to submit or to clear their answer. And then there's appearance on how you set up the different sizes and fonts for the question and the answers and the buttons. Once you're done, you click OK, and then it populates the slides with the question, the text of the quiz question and the text of the answers, and then all the little warning symbols that's going to show up. Now the problem we were running into here, this is a great program if you're English or history or something that uses a lot of text-based questions. The problems we were running into, especially since I teach high school mathematics and want to get into more complicated equations, was that presenter 7 is text-based. I couldn't enter in fancier equations, say fractions and things like that, for my students and make them look the way they should using correct math type. So we're investigating how to get around that, perhaps even to, at this point, insert graphics that represent our equations. So that's something we're still exploring. We even tried using, there's another program out there called let me pull it up, called e-learning interactions, where you can get a monthly subscription, and they have all kinds of great games like Millionaire Challenge, Game Show, Board Game, Bowling Challenge. These are games that are already created pretty much the same way, and you just come into them and you type your text. And here's a marathon challenge where the kids, each one of those dots represents a question that they answer, and they go through. And we tried them to see if they would help, and it was far easier actually than building the quiz in, from scratch in PowerPoint. But the problem was, once again, that we ran into, it didn't handle equations well, and that's really important in a math classroom. If you're doing text-based, if you're English or science, as long as you don't have any equations, history, things like that, then, as long as your questions are all text-based, these are great games. I can even show you what one looks like, kind of a sample. It doesn't have any questions in here because if you try the demos, you can't save with questions. But, the student puts the correct answer in, it moves them up. So the neat thing is they've got all this set up so that it does all the fancy stuff for you, and I really like that. If I could figure out how to get equations into it, this would be the way I'd go, because it's far easier. It took quite a bit of time to get all this set up. Another thing we learned with the Presenter 7 is when it sends out or produces the quiz, that quiz has a start and a finish, and in ours we dragged slides into the quiz. It's okay to drag slides into the quiz, but you can't, that very first slide of the quiz and the very last slide of the quiz, you cannot move them. If you do, it breaks your quiz and then it won't work anymore. But you can always drag slides into the quiz and you're safe as long as you don't move that first and last one. So the way we set it up was we had our questions and then the map with the ship going around. I'll show you what a produced quiz looks like, or a produced game. I call them games. It's quizzes in the Presenter 7, but as far as my students are concerned, it's a game. They come into the game and they play the introduction, And it says, are you ready for the multiplication review? And each time they're ready to proceed, they press the play button to go to the next one. Here it gives them the scenario that they're a captain. They have to find keys of knowledge so that they can open treasure chests. And by the keys of knowledge, they have to answer questions. And they need to do it before the pirate catches up to them. And then we go into the questions, and the student selects the answer. When they select the answer and press submit, it says correct. Click anywhere to continue. And then here it shows their ship, or should show their ship traveling to the next key. I think we have yeah, there we go. And then continue, and they get another question. If they answer that question wrong, looks like I haven't dragged, or I've unassociated, but it should ask them to retry it again. Oh, I know what I did. I pressed play instead of submit. Let's try that again. Yeah, this is what try again. So if the student presses play, it'll advance them without trying, but here's the thing, it'll show up as a missed question in the score thing. So try again. Let's see. They have to use the submit button in order for it to register. So we click anywhere to continue. I wish there were a way to remove this navigation, but it's something we haven't quite figured out. Like I said, we were busy trying to figure out how to get the different texts. We created several quizzes with, we had several bombed attempts before we got this product figured out. Anyway, so we continue to go next. We'll see our ship sail along. And then we continue along. And once the student advances through the entire quiz, let's quickly do that. Yeah, we had some cute little audio and video clips to pop up every now and then to keep it interesting for the kids. And we'll do that. Let me advance to the end. And you see at each key and treasure chest location, the student has to answer a question. Here's another one of those videos and audio clips. And then when they're at the end, they get this page here that returns, here's how many questions that you got correct. Here's the total number of questions. Here was your score. Here's the number of times you've attempted this quiz so far. And then if the student scores less than whatever the threshold is that you set, in this case I set it as 70%, it'll say take some time to review your multiplication tables and then come back and try the quiz again. And so they can press continue to exit out, or review quiz, and that'll take them back through and show them what the questions were. It'll say you answered this correctly. I'll say, okay, you answered. Oh, wait. Anyway, they can proceed through and see what the different ones. It says, oh, you did not answer this question completely. So you you can continue to have the student work through it and review it so they can come back and try it again at another time. Like I said, the things we're exploring, we've had some good review from students who have played. They like the interaction, makes the questions interesting. The only thing that we're really wanting to try and figure out is how to make it so that we can use this software for more advanced classes like Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus, where we get more complicated equations. And I think at this point, what we've kind of thought we're going to have to do is create those equations outside in Word and import them in. I just haven't played around with seeing if changing the text for each of these answer choices actually inside of PowerPoint, if I change these, if it will affect the play of the quiz. Because as I said, messing with the first and the last slide affects or breaks the way the game plays. So we haven't explored how changing this text inside, if I replaced it with a graphic, if it would break the quiz, so to say. But I would really like my students and my school would really like to thank WeAreTeachers and Fresno State University for your help. It's been a fun adventure, and we're going to spend lots more time this summer working on creating things. Even our English teachers and history teachers are kind of excited about it. And so thank you, and we appreciate all that you do and the funding that you provide teachers to do great projects like this.